Their first trip through the process saved $5.2 million as measured by the cost sheet. That's the kind of growth and development that comes from this process as we get the shop floor people involved, get everybody, because everybody's got a perspective on this, and everyone brings something to the table. Well, results have been pretty important to us, and they all add up to $38 million in the last 5 years.
We've had some of the best gurus in the world try to solve this problem, and about everything that DuPont could throw at us. And unfortunately, for all the money spent, we hadn't gained an ounce of ground at all. QualPro changed a lot of things at our plant.
We were able to increase the uptime by 30%. Production rates were up by 25%. Maintenance costs were down 47%, and we've had over $3 million worth of tested savings due to the QualPro processes we use.
When I started at the LaPorte site, the EC team was pretty much not regarded very highly. In fact, we were very often referred to as scum-sucking overhead. And if you never made that trip from scum-sucking overhead to competitive advantage, I recommend it to you because that's a real thrill.
QualPro helped us break the cycle of OFAT, one factor at a time. The local workforce collected data and determined the best practice for interlace. With QualPro, you get the winning team. Modern technology cannot guarantee you 100% yields. You've got to take into consideration the methods and the people. And that's where QualPro can take you from just average operation to doing the best that you can do, because it gives you the tools that you need to find the improvements and to make them. Overall, we're maintaining more than $3 million a year in improvements.
The first thing out of his mouth was, well, now just a minute, you don't want to change 5 or 6 things all at one time, do you? Because if it improves, you won't know which one made it get better. The belief always is that there's one thing that's killing you. So everybody's always looking for the one thing. And many times it's a combination of things. But anyway, we were allowed to go ahead and make those changes. And in fact, lo and behold, literally overnight, because that's when we did it, in the middle of the night, at the start of the next day, the line dramatically jumped in its performance.
Now, we couldn't believe the amount of dollars that we saved just in doing step 3. But this is the bottom line, and that was over $1 million in revenue, added revenue.
The punchline overall, we completed the things that we needed to get to, and that ultimately worked to this chart, where we started from about 97, and now we make about 99.5 pure material.
All those factors working in tandem cost us to save this much money. Pretty good for running an experiment just to see if you could run an experiment.
So in this vision, we landed on that QualPro would be the continuous improvement tool from a high-performance acceleration standpoint that would allow us to accomplish our task. Over an 18-month period, we probably took out at the Cooper River site between $5 million worth of cost, which was a tremendous improvement.
It's really interesting because QualPro says, we'll guarantee if you run an 11 variable 12-run placket Berman test that you will be guaranteed to get one big hitter. And sometimes you may get 2. Well, hey, we changed 7 after our test, and the impact has been tremendous. As a bonus, we got this 15% rate increase, which has led to an annualized additional $18 million to bring us up to a total of $26 million in benefit.
So I got an expert who'd been doing this kind of stuff for 26 years, had no earthly idea that anything like this ever existed or could exist, and you wouldn't believe how happy that man is today.
We were really excited, though, that we had a customer that was so willing to participate in a joint effort with us. To give you an idea of what a break is worth to the customer, every time it breaks, it costs them about $1, so it could add up pretty quick. The customer we were working with had experience with QualPro. So we plug in a +1 for factor E, and we predict 2 breaks. which predicts a 66% improvement in customer texturing brakes by simply cleaning the heaters under this new method. Well, we were excited, and the customer was excited, and we said, let's implement it. And the customer did that. Now, this means to the customer additional $80,000 a year in their pocket, in the customer's pocket. Now, remember earlier I told you we had $1.2 million at stake on this project? Here's half of it right here. Half of it from implementing something that seemed obvious and something simple. But let me warn you, not everything that seems simple and obvious is going to give you a shift in your process that you like.
Hey, look, here's something that is going to really help you. This big gun will help you achieve what you want to do. And for us, QualPro is that big gun.
One out of every 6 pumps was failing. This amounts to $750,000 a year that we're spending just on this one maintenance item. How'd you like to be a mechanic to come in every day knowing you're going to have to fix a pump? And I'll tell you what, it wasn't too thrilling for me either, knowing I had to come into work every day and diagnose what the heck happened to that pump. We said, we're going to commit to a 25% reduction in pump failures. Where'd we end up? 61% reduction at the end of 1 year.
Our caustic strength is not part of the isolation part of it in this process, and I had to do a lot of arguing with people to experiment with this factor because it wasn't in isolation. Nobody wanted to do anything with it. And that's where we came up with a lot of the 50 factors.
I remember that meeting too, and Jim was standing ground against all these engineers that didn't want to put that factor in there, and by God, he was just about pounding the table saying, we've got to test that. And look what happened. Operator idea became a very important contributor to yield improvement.
S is one of the ones that one of our engineers had picked and thought it would be one of the great ideas, you know. Well, we used it as a factor, and as you can see, you know, centrifuge speed didn't have any effect at all, or very, very little on our yield in our isolation process.
The other one I think that's been a big plus is the help from QualPro in the speed to which to go after improvements. And I think it's changed our whole mindset about the speed at which we can implement improvements.
$10 million increase to the present value over 4 years. Minimal capital investment, virtually none. The reward, that's what the bottom line is right there, reward. Job security is what that says behind that sign there. Let me explain it to you from a working man's standpoint. You take a business that's 23 years old, no money's been invested, you take it from the brink of being cut. I'm not a mathematician, figure it in your head. $150 million, 46% increase over a 4-year period of time. I don't know about your corporate company, but if they don't make some sort of investment and you don't make a step in the right direction, your jobs will be in jeopardy as mine was, okay? The difference between when we started this presentation and now is this. Everyone on our team owns that business, and including the lowest operator or the youngest, and don't ever set aside that you can't experiment. Don't let nobody tell you we can't afford to experiment. Your people are experimenting every day behind your back because you're not giving them a controlled experiment to do. Those people aren't brain dead just because you see them as being brain dead. Some of us can still think. Thank you very much.
Joe said, listen, this stuff works. You can trust me. I needed answers. I had really no experience, but I said, I'm along for the ride. Let's give it a shot. Jim Prestigiacomo said, let's get into it. He was ready to design the experiment and move along. And Ed, of course, said, you guys are nuts. And I mean, we had some real talking to get Ed on board. It was really important that we get Ed on board because he was going to be the guy actually mixing this stuff up in the lab. One of the most important take-home messages from this is that we averted a potential regulatory shutdown, either through having the permit conditions lowered or getting into a chronic failure where they would have just shut us down. to replace the product out on the open market would have been $250,000 a day. And as one of the lead engineers in the unit had told me, we would have done whatever it took to get back online within 20 days or less, or they probably wouldn't have had jobs. That's how critical the product is to the supply chain. So conservatively, just multiplying this by 18 days, we believe that through the use of this MVT process, we averted a $4.5 million loss to this business unit.
Well, $38 million in savings. I think that's pretty significant. My boss thinks it's pretty good. Folks in the plant feel pretty good about it. But we need to talk about what the heck does that mean. We've been able to grow at this kind of rate in China, competing against Chinese-made products on the ground a long way, made by workers at the LaPorte plant in Texas. So simple, it's not easy, but those kind of results make an opportunity for, I think, our businesses to be successful around the world. Thank you.
I think that's where you'll find the real power of process improvement. In fact, it's so powerful to me, it's like magic. It's every manager's dream come true. A mathematical method that tells you what to change in the process, how much to change it, and what the impact of the change will be. Well, after rolling up my shirt sleeves and working hard to learn this method and actually using it on a project myself, I understood what this could mean for my company. It is the answer to rejuvenating our business.
The bottom line is we have had major cost reductions, and we continue to be extremely committed to improving the process.
I committed to our chairman when I asked for funding for this to multiply the investment by 5 times, and I think that's even conservative. As I said, we've taken waste for granted too long. I have a feeling that we can do a lot better than 5 times our QualPro payment.
Newspapermen, and most of us are newspapermen, tend to do things by the seat of the pants. We are historically suspicious of research. In fact, we're big-headed egotists. However, we're not ostriches. And when we read about QualPro's amazing achievements with MVT, we decided to see if that could provide the answers to the questions we were asking ourselves.
QualPro has shown us how to take 29 factors, and in just 32 simple experiments we can analyze that. So, I just wish that I'd learned this 10 years ago when I graduated college. I guess, I need a t-shirt that says statistics. It's not just for sports anymore.
The story begins with a district manager in central Oklahoma who was told by his boss to increase sales by 40% in 1 year. The district had one of the lowest sales totals in the company, and the boss had had enough. Luckily for this manager, he attended QualPro training as he was pondering what in the world he could do to reach his stretch target. The average shot up to $14,700 per month, an increase of 221%, or more than 5 times the initial 40% goal the manager thought he could never make. The team is now doing even better, averaging 18,000 monthly sales points, which is more than 300% better than where they started, 300%. And it cost all of about $1,500 to do. I'm proud of our progress. We've estimated that our process improvement work has resulted in well over $100 million in potential new revenue or in savings to our company. And without question, has been part of making Southwestern Bell one of the best performing Bell companies the last 3 years running.
He made a fairly bold claim in terms of in QualPro's experience that companies could experience significant performance improvement by identifying and implementing fairly simple and inexpensive ideas that were generated by frontline employees. And that, excuse me, when implemented, these ideas would result in significant sustained performance. And he went on to say not only that, but it always works. In their 15 years of experience, it had always worked. So the notion of being able to get significant improvement with simple, no additional cost ideas was a very appealing idea in the new competitive industry. We've also used MVT to help us improve shareholder value. Of the 4 experiments that we've run in the service assurance process over the last 18 months, they have a total potential benefit or payback to GTE of over $50 million. So it's true, it always works.